Hello, I'm Lori Lumby with Authentic Freedom Academy, and this is our Sunday service, July 5th, 2020. And this service is just an opportunity for you to receive spiritual inspiration, comfort, guidance, and today we're going to be doing some, hopefully some healing kind of guided meditations as part of our process today. So I just invite us to take a moment to bring ourselves here. So I invite you to take a comfortable seat, or if you want to lie down, that's okay too. And to close your eyes. And to just give yourself a moment to arrive here, to bring your energy and your intention into this present moment. To let go of any preoccupations, worries, fretfulness, or that darn to-do list that you might have circling around in your mind. Giving yourself an opportunity to really be present to yourself and to your own spiritual needs at this place in your journey. Knowing that you are not alone, as is witnessed by this community that is gathered here this morning, and knowing that you are not alone, that you are always surrounded and supported by spiritual guidance. And I'm going to begin this gathering with a healing mantra. It's a Sanskrit mantra that is intended for those who are here to be vessels of love, light, compassion, and transformation in our world. All those that are gathered here today are those beings. And this mantra acknowledges and recognizes that we too need healing and support, and provides that healing through the sound and the vibration of this sacred chant. And I invite you to just receive. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Orwa Rukamiwa Bandhanan Mrichor Mokshia Mamritate. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Orwa Rukamiwa Bandhanan Mrichor Mokshia Mamritate. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Orwa Rukamiwa Bandhanan Mrichor Mokshia Mamritate. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Orwa Rukamiwa Bandhanan Mrichor Mokshia Mamritate. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Orwa Rukamiwa Bandhanan Mrichor Mokshia Mamritate. And in that place of centeredness, I invite you to listen to these words from Matthew's Gospel. At that time, Jesus exclaimed, I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden light. One of my tasks in this lifetime is to take these beautiful pieces of wisdom literature that have been communicated to us in a language that can often be construed as separatist. And this particular passage is all full of words and phrases that might be triggering to some people, to many people who are looking for something that is more unifying as opposed to separating. So let's just start with the elephant in the room, Father. For many of us who were raised in a mainline Christian or Catholic tradition, exclusively male images of the divine is what were given to us. The idea of the old man in the sky, the Father, the wrathful, punitive God. And while this has been the way that a hierarchical and patriarchal culture has interpreted these words, this is likely a very limited expression of what Jesus himself knew and understood. When we look past the doctrine, the dogma, the religious conditioning that many of us have experienced, and look deeper not only into the heart of Jesus's teachings, but also into the heart of his own life experience, we see something much broader and more expansive than what we have perhaps been led to believe. So, one thing to remember is that Jesus was Jewish. Jesus was a first century Palestinian Jew who practiced his Judaism. He was immersed in that culture. All of his friends and family were Jewish, and his disciples were Jewish. The people that he preached to were mostly Jewish. or were Jewish and different sects of Judaism, like the Samaritans, for example. Jesus was speaking to an audience of people that were like him, and he was using a language that they were familiar with. But we also see in the stories how Jesus came in conflict with the religious authorities, the leaders of his church, or the temple, the synagogue, and anyone that held a position of authority or power within the Jewish faith. They didn't really like Jesus because he spoke beyond the constraints of doctrine. And Jesus was able to speak beyond those constraints because, at least my belief is, that he was also a Jewish mystic. And the mystics across every religious culture and experience are those that are always pushing the envelope, that are seeing beyond the limitations of religion, doctrine, dogma. Most importantly, the mystics are the ones that are seeking out and having a personal experience of the divine, a personal encounter with love, a personal encounter with transcendence, bliss, compassion, peace. The peace that is beyond understanding. And in those mystical experiences, all divisions, all boundaries, all definitions of the divine begin to fall away. Because no longer are we as human beings creating God in our image. The divine is revealing itself to us in all its infinite forms and faces and expressions. When we look deep into the heart of Jewish mysticism, and even deep into the heart of Scripture, and translating Hebrew Scripture particularly from Hebrew into English, when we look at it today through a scholarly lens, we see that all the words that were translated into the Christian Bible that say Lord or God or Him, many of them were actually Jewish names for the divine that had nothing to do with masculine and were wholly feminine. So we see names given to the divine like Asherah, the Shekinah, El Shaddai, which means O breasted one. We see images of the divine as described like a mother hen or a mother eagle or a mother caring for her young. This was prominent in not only Orthodox Judaism, but in the mystical traditions. And when we look specifically at the Kabbalah, which is a mystical expression of Judaism, half of the emanations of the divine are feminine. Gevurah is feminine. Bina is feminine. Chokhmah, wisdom, is feminine. Malkutah, which has been translated as kingdom, actually means queendom. The word Malkut is feminine in form. So when we look at Jesus's language around the divine, and we see this word Father that might trigger some of us, we have an opportunity to look beyond our own conditioning and to ask, what was Jesus trying to communicate here? If he understood the divine as being bigger, broader, more expansive than the limiting language of patriarchy. I think what he is trying to communicate is his intimate relationship with the divine. That his experience of the divine felt fatherly. It felt protective. It felt as a source of provision and guidance and guarding. And we can more fully understand this when we look at the story of the prodigal son, which might actually be more appropriately titled the prodigal father. And the father, whose son leaves to do what all children do, go out on their own, find their own way, make their own mistakes. When the son comes back, the father is not standing at the gate waiting to punish him. He's not waiting to deride him or condemn him or say, see, I told you you'd be back, or, well, how'd that go for you? Instead, the father was there waiting with open arms, welcoming his son into his embrace. And when the son said, can you forgive me? It was not the father that said, you need to ask my forgiveness. Because in the father's eyes, there was nothing to forgive. The son did nothing wrong. He did what all children are meant to do. Instead, he embraced him with open arms and he had a party. He celebrated his son's return. This is the experience of the divine that Jesus knew himself and wanted us to understand. And it is in knowing Jesus's teachings in this way that we also come to know the divine in that way. And we don't have to call the divine Father. For some, that term won't work. Maybe they've had a negative experience with their own father. Maybe they have struggled with the patriarchal conditioning of Western institutions. Maybe that word father has been used against them. Or maybe it simply doesn't resonate. Maybe instead they prefer mother or sister or companion or light or love or compassion. With a divine that is infinite, we have infinite choices as to what we want to call or how we want to identify that experience. Or maybe we let go of all need to name and simply allow the divine to reveal itself to us in our hearts, in our mind, in our being. This is that childlike faith that Jesus was talking about. This is a faith of innocence, if you will. Innocence in the sense that we are able and willing and free to let go of those things that might keep us from knowing the divine. Our fears, our past conditioning, our traumas, our unhealed wounds, the examples that others have given or tried to impose upon us. A childlike faith is able to shake itself free of those outwardly imposed on us ideas of the divine, which then allows us to see with fresh and innocent eyes. It allows us to come into knowledge of the divine from a place of wonder. This, I believe, is how Jesus came to know God, how Mother Mary came to know God, how Mary Magdalene came to know God, and many throughout history who have either had the divine pierce through them like a lightning bolt and awaken them to something outside of what they had been taught, or came to know and understand the divine themselves through their own meditation, contemplation, service, or any other way in which they have found peace, contentment, love, and joy. And finally, in that reading is one of the most beautiful, comforting phrases in Scripture. And Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who burden and are burdened, all who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves, for my yoke is easy and my burden light." In those words, Jesus reminds us and also invites us into an understanding of support, reminding us that we are not alone in this journey, that there is a divine source that is love, that is comfort, that is guidance, that is healing. And as we move through our life mission, especially in these challenging times, it is easy to become weary. It is easy to become discouraged, to lose faith, to get frustrated, to wonder if things are just going to keep getting more and more insane, or if this is going to turn around into something more life-giving, more loving, more peaceful. And when we hit those places within ourselves where we feel it's too much, or we can't go on, or we're just tired and weary, we have a divine source that we can turn to for support, for rest, and for comfort. So for our meditation period today, I'm going to guide us through an unburdening meditation process, an opportunity for you to give over to the divine, to hand over to the divine what you might currently be burdened with. So I invite you to close your eyes and to listen to these words of guidance, which will eventually move you into a period of silent meditation And I'll let you know when the silent portion has ended and we're ready to move into our closing. So to begin this unburdening meditation, I invite you to close your eyes. And I invite you to take a few minutes to inwardly reflect on what feels burdensome right now in your journey. Perhaps you are carrying worries about something or concern. Maybe there is someone that you care about who is hurting or ill. Maybe you are struggling physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Maybe there is a fear that has been present and palpable. Maybe there's a frustration or an impatience that you've been carrying. Maybe you're just weary. So I'll invite us into a few moments of silence as individually we connect with what we are currently feeling burdened by. Now that you've had an opportunity to identify what those burdens are, I now invite you to open your mind, your heart, your perception to an arrival of the divine. Allowing the divine to present itself to you in whatever form or image that you need at this place in your journey. Don't question or doubt what appears to you, but receive it as an image of divine support, love, compassionate care, and unburdening. As that image takes form before you, allow yourself to feel and receive that divine presence. Allow yourself to be open to any words that this expression of the divine might speak to you. Now that you have received the image, felt its presence, and heard any messages or words, you are now invited to take all those burdens that you identified and place them in the arms of the divine, giving them over one by one by one by one until your hands are empty and the divine's are full. And if there is any temptation to hang on to one or two of those burdens, allow yourself to resist that temptation and give those over to the open arms of the divine. And as that exchange is taking place, I invite you to observe what happens to those burdens in the arms of the divine. After the divine has done what it needed to do with those burdens that you gave over, allow yourself within your mind and in your heart to offer your own words or prayer of gratitude, of thanksgiving, of relief. It is an act of closure. I invite you to imagine that you and the divine are hugging. The divine is coming forward and wrapping you in its arms, giving you comfort, assurance, and enfolding you in love. And as the meditation feels complete for you in your own time, and slowly and gently return to the circle, bring your conscious awareness back into this space, and open your eyes. As you slowly bring yourself back to the circle, I just want to offer this assurance that the work you received and accomplished here today will continue. That unburdening and that sense of relief will continue as you move about your day and in the coming week. And I would invite you to be conscious of any times that you might feel tempted to take back those burdens. And remember that you can give those over at any time. And that this practice we did here today is available for you every minute of every day. When you feel burdened or worried or weighted down or tired, to just bring forth that image and presence of the divine and let those burdens go. So I want to thank you for giving yourself that opportunity to receive this morning. And as our closing prayer, this morning I pulled a card from my Mother Mary Oracle deck. Oops, here I am. And I like to do this in anticipation of these gatherings because there's always a really relevant message that comes forth. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And if you're not familiar with the Mother Mary Oracle deck, the author is Alana Fairchild, and it features the amazing artwork of Shiloh Sophia McLeod. And these are all images of Mother Mary, or could be interpreted as images of a feminine divine. So the card that I pulled today, which I think is relevant, is Sacred Sisterhood. Sacred Sisterhood. And before I read Alana's words, I just want to share what this card said to me this morning. I've been increasingly grateful and aware of this circle of women who have found their way to these gatherings, to my online courses, to any of the other resources that I've been sharing out there. And today when I pulled that card, I was acutely aware of the love and the support and the acceptance that I have witnessed in this community. Women coming together across all forms of life, all ages, coming together in a common space with a common intention, and that is love. And it is also a deep knowing that we are here to be part of this human evolution that we find ourselves in the midst of. And it's a group of great diversity of specific beliefs, but I think at the core of it, love is at the heart. And there's a level of acceptance and support that I continue to witness and that I am continually grateful for. So I just want to thank you for being part of this sisterhood and in this important work that we are doing in our world today. And this is what Alana has to say about Our Lady of Sacred Sisterhood. I manifest in spirit and in flesh. I am the love that falls from the stars and the light of the sun that gives life. I am the warmth in the hug from your dearest friend. I am the scent of the rose and the roar of the lioness. I am the tender care in the touch of your loved ones. I come to you now in physical form. I bring you the gifts of loving and being loved, of speaking and being heard. So thank you for allowing yourself to receive that divine love today and continue to allow yourself to connect with that love and to lay your burden down in her loving embrace. Thank you for being here today. And I wish you all a blessed and beautiful day on this Sunday, July 5th. And I'll look forward to seeing those of you next time, whenever you're able to make it. And have a great day and take care.